Shalom everyone and Shavua Tov. We are reading this week Parashat Ki-Tavo. Now, Parashat Ki-Tavo, you can find it in the Torah, Parashat Dvarim, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1. It's a very spiritual parasha, which means if you don't read it with a spiritual state of mind, it can be devastating. And even the last part of this parasha, which is called the curses of Parashat Ki-Tavo, in the synagogues, in most synagogues, they read it in a low voice because it's very hard to think that these are the words of God, that they are being read just right now. Now, what is the awesome power of Parashat Ki-Tavo? Because the Talmud declares in Masechet Megillah, Tractate Megillah, that Parashat Ki-Tavo must be read before the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. So, because the message is directly to Rosh Hashanah. Now, what is the message we get over here? The beginning of the parasha is beautiful. It's full of blessings. It's full of amazing godly blessing to whoever follows the Torah. But the next part of the parasha is full of terrible, terrible, terrible curses that are so bad, as we said, that it's even hard to pronounce them loud when the Torah is being read in the synagogue. So how do we reconcile that? And the Zohar speaks about it very directly, about how do we deal with curses that sound so horrible, which means it sounds like medieval religion with so many threats to the non-believers. Okay, now, so let us try to understand also the connection between the beginning of the parasha with all the blessings and the end of the parasha with all the curses. And in order to understand that, we also connect it with the previous parashot. The previous parashot, which we read, Parashat Shoftim and Parashat Ki-Tetzei, both of them were about fighting our enemy, the enemy. There's no making the war, the one war, there's no other war but that war. And what was that war about? This is the war against the evil inclination, says Rashi, the biggest commentator on the Torah. Lo dibra Torah ela keneged yetzer hara. The whole Torah, all of this is just about the fight against the dark side, the evil inclination of each one of us. Okay? Now, why do we have to fight the dark side? Because this is the time, if we didn't make it our business during the whole year, this is the time to make it our business, because Rosh Hashanah is coming, and Rosh Hashanah is not just, marking the new year, and we have to make some New Year's resolutions. It's much deeper than that. If we understand that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the God of monotheism, is the only one God, that there is nothing but Him. It's only Him, above and below, in the heaven and in the earth, within every creature, that each one of us is part of that God because He's endless, and it's a whole universe is that God. And that means that His giving is endless and unconditional. This is crucial for human beings' success. Why is it so crucial? Because when we pray to God, people can come from different places. They can come from remorse, they can come from regret, they can come from guilt, they can come from blame, they can come from grievance. And all of these emotions, according to the teachings of this parasha especially, are basically, what should I say? It's basically a guarantee that our prayers, not just that they are not going to be rewarded, they are going to become our punishment. Punishment? Let me explain. It's like, what God are you praying to? If you're praying to a God that exists in your imagination, which means if you really believe that God is angry about you, that God is upset about you, that God cannot let go of all the dark stuff you've done in the past, you're not praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You're not praying to the God of Moses and the Bible. You're not praying to the God of Mount Sinai Revelation. You're praying to that dark Lord that exists in your imagination and your heart as long as you are subjugated to that God, as long as that this God is your king, don't be surprised that your life will be in shambles and you will feel unlucky and not being loved and all of that stuff that we call the curses. So the first thing that this parasha preparing us for Rosh Hashanah is to basically do the calibration, which is very, very, very important. Who is the God you're praying to? And it starts with, as we say again, chapter 26, verse 1. והיה כי תבוא אל הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך נחלה, וירשת וישבת בה. When you come to the land that God, your Lord. And the Zohar is asking, what does it mean, God, your Lord? It should be, says the Zohar, our Lord. This Zohar is in Parashat Yitro, because in the regular Zohar, there is no commentary on Parashat Ki-Tavo. Only in another publication of the Zohar that was published later, after the original part of the Zohar, the main body of the Zohar, a manuscript has been published. And it says, it should be the God, our Lord, not your Lord. And the Zohar says something that is very important. Whoever lives outside of Israel, he is like, this is from the Mishnah, okay? It's not just a Zohar. Is like a person who has no God. What does it mean? What does it mean if you live in Europe or the Americas or in Africa or in Australia or Asia, you live outside of Israel, you have no God? Exactly what I just said before. When you live outside the Holy Land, your calibration to God could be a default of an angry God. And I'll explain what I'm saying. Whoever visited Israel, whoever visited Jerusalem, has two options, two kind of reactions. One reaction, there are those people like the spies, okay, which we're talking about the heads of the tribes that Moses sent to tour the country. And from 12, 10 of them came with a lot of grievances, and their punishment, because telling, bad-mouthing the Holy Land, they died that day. Okay? So there are people coming to Israel, and they can find only what's wrong with that place. However, there are those people that become addicted. They come to Israel, and as they come to Israel, they feel there's something different in the air. Of course, it's called the Holy Land, which means, why it's the Holy Land and not Russia? Why not Canada? Why not Australia? Because they are not the Holy Land. Nobody calls them the Holy Land. Well, like maybe some. Okay, this is the Holy Land. And that's why people for thousands of years make pilgrimage to Israel, because there's something you can experience in Israel that it's impossible to experience outside of Israel. And especially when you come to Jerusalem. And especially when you come to the Old City. And especially when you get closer to the Temple Mount, you feel something that your prayers are being calibrated differently. It's like you're being enfolded with this kind of grace and love that it's almost impossible to feel that outside of Israel. So why does it say that is the Lord your God? Because Moses is saying, where did he say it? Outside Israel. He said, Whoever comes to Israel and comes to the holy city and comes to the holy temple, you will have that experience that people here cannot experience. And that's why it's so important to make the pilgrimage to Israel and to Jerusalem. And especially the continuation makes it even more focused. And it says that that person coming to the Kohen, the farmer, who brings the first fruits of his garden to the Kohen, and he says, "V'amart elav higadeti hayom l'Hashem Elokecha." And you say, that's not, verse 3 in chapter 26, and you say to the Lord your God, just a second, you're already living in Israel, you're already in the Holy Land. What is the Lord your God? Because when we study Kabbalah, we learn that the Kohen is a symbol for something very powerful. That's called Chesed. Chesed means the attribute of God, the attribute of undivided and unconditioned love, which means the loving kindness of the Creator. The one and only Creator is unconditionally loving kindness. That's called Chesed. Who is the representative on earth of that frequency? The Kohen. So, when it was in the time of the Bible, it was Aaron, the high priest, the brother of Moses. When he passed away, he gave that power to his children. And till today, if you want to experience that Chesed, you go to the synagogue to hear the blessing of the Kohanim. They bless, they exactly like their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Aaron the high priest, some 34 centuries ago. He blessed the people with the same words, same blessings, exactly. Okay, does that mean that you cannot bless with that blessing? Of course you can. A father can use that blessing to bless his children. It's in the prayer book of Friday night that the fathers are giving these blessings to their children, although they're not Kohen. But what's important over here is that there is something very important that we have to calibrate ourselves and to connect. Even coming to Israel at least once and to Jerusalem, because you cannot understand what I'm saying unless you've been there. Okay? You have to go there with an open mind, open heart, and you will understand what I'm saying. There is some frequency that makes your prayers different, and therefore, it is very clear why does it say in the halakha, the Jewish law, that when you pray, you have to pray where? You have to make 3 steps backwards, leaving the physical world, and then 3 steps forwards, 1 to Israel, 1 to Jerusalem, and 1 to the Holy of Holies. And you stand over there, and from there you make the prayer. Why? Because, as it says later on, in the end of that section, that the first section to be read on the coming Shabbat, and that's chapter 26, verse 11, "V'samachta b'chol hatov asher natan lecha Adonai Elohecha." And you should rejoice and be happy with all the good that the Lord your God gave you and to your household, you and the Levite and all the others that live amongst you. What are we talking about? We are talking about something very important. It basically covers up the whole secret of coming to the new year. We're coming to the new year, and then in the traditional thing, it's like you're standing there in front of God on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, all the high holidays, and you're asking God, please give me a better year. Please give me a year full of bliss, full of sustenance, full of health and family blessing and so on and so forth. And let me live another year. But who do you pray to? If you're praying to a God that is a God that is angry about you, you are connecting to the wrong frequency. No wonder your prayers are not being answered because you don't know what to do there. And the Zohar says very clearly, Most people, about our generation, most people come to the synagogue, they pray the prayer, but they have no idea what they're doing. What are they doing? And the first thing is, V'samachta b'chol hatov. That this concept repeats few times in this parasha. You should rejoice, because when you connect to that aspect of the Creator, which is endless loving kindness, that cannot be changed. It doesn't matter how terrible are our mistakes of the past year. The moment I pray to the right God, the God of love, the God of unchanging, endless love, that I cannot change no matter what I do, I can make the first step. And how do I do that? By as Moses is teaching us, be appreciative. Always train yourself. No, God is not angry about me. No, God is not going to be upset about me. No, He is not casting me away, because as it says in the book of Samuel, chapter 14, verse 14, "Ki lo yidach mimeno nidach." No one will be cast away. Even the worst soul, there's no worst soul, the worst person, his soul won't be cast away. The moment we come from that place, that the love of God is unconditional to each one of us, no matter who we are, that calibration should be done how? By connecting to God's grace, endless grace, that He's giving, as the Talmud is saying, is beyond we can even understand or even think about how much we need. His giving will be always more than what we think that we need. So, and how do you appreciate? Appreciation means being happy with what you've got. When you come to Rosh Hashanah and you're busy in grievances and complaining and like, God, I had a terrible year, you gave me a terrible year, maybe this time you're going to give me a much better year. And you're praying to the wrong God. You're praying, you're not calibrated. Your consciousness is not ready to receive from the God of endless love. And this is what is so important, to prepare ourselves. That yes, on one hand, we should have remorse about all the mistakes we have done. Why did we do these mistakes? Because if at that moment that we were upset or angry, it's because we had fear, because we were not really connected to the certainty that God is with us when we are aware of it or not. He's with us, He's within us, outside us, around us, everywhere. There's nothing but Him. Ein od milvado. This is the most important thing that we have to be aware of. When we understand that, then we are ready to make teshuvah. What does it mean, teshuvah? Wrongly translated as repentance. It is returning to the original state. The state that we are one with God. We came from there, we're going that way, we're going to become there. But meanwhile, we have to earn it by our hard work. Now, that is manifested after the beginning of the parasha, that is full of so many blessings, to show the endless love of God to His creation, to His children. But there is a part that doesn't look so right. Because what if, and that is in verse 15 of chapter 28, Deuteronomy, והיה אם לא תשמע בקול אדוני אלוהיך. What if you did not listen to the voice of the Lord your God? You know what? There will be people who come to Jerusalem, and instead of feeling that amazing, awesome power of holiness around them and inside them, they are being stressed out. They are being intimidated. They can't stand it. Just the moment they come to Jerusalem, start complaining. Oh, the traffic, oh, this, and the heat, and the cold, and and too many stairs, and too many steps, and it's an old city, and it's not like comfortable with elevators, and you'll find what to complain about, because you're not connected. You're not listening. And as Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, as Rabbi Chaim Ben Attar, when you make the evil inclination your king, He would not allow anything good to penetrate in. He's your king. So he doesn't want any bad mouthing about him, which means he will be justified, whatever he, what does it mean? Grievances, complaining about everything. If you want to achieve a new year that is going to be so full of bliss, it's nothing to do with God. He's giving, you had him by a low. Just coming to Rosh Hashanah, it's all, okay, my child, take everything. It's already been given. It's already been given. It's already been transferred to your bank account in the universe. The question is, can you withdraw it from your account? It was given to you. How can you withdraw it? The first thing is you need to be on the right frequency. A, it's only good. B, I just need to appreciate that place by appreciating and being happy with whatever I've got. Because that's a condition. Because when I appreciate whatever I've got, when I'm excited about whatever I got, and how do I do it? I overcome my insecurity, my fears, my anger, my grievances, my sense of inequality, whatever. The moment I'm busy complaining, have you ever seen a successful complaining person? Winners do not complain. Why? They're too busy achieving their victories. Winners, they know it's not for free. And the first thing you have to do to be a winner is to win over those voices inside saying, no, it's not going to work, others tried it, and there's no justice in this world, and there's so many evil people, and no good deeds will go unpunished, and there's so many phrases like this that the world is full with. Yeah, this is your world, this is calibrating your consciousness, and then you worship a God of venom, hatred, negativity, a God that hates the others and he loves you. If he loves you, why you're not so lucky? Why you're busy hating other people and blaming them for your problems? Why can't you take responsibility and create miracles in your life? Because you are not happy with what you've got. When you're happy with what you've got, you have more power and energy and trust that you can achieve more. So the beginning of this parasha is all full with amazing, awesome blessings that you get just reading them. You get inspired. However, as I said, verse 15 in chapter 28, "V'haya im lo tishma." But if you don't achieve that level of being able to listen to all of these advices in the Torah, what happens when you shut down the grid? What happens? It's becoming dark, and it's called curses. Curses are not an entity. Curses are the lack of flight. It's when you don't work on listening, which means you're not, in order to achieve a vessel that can receive all the blessings, you need to achieve appreciation. You need to achieve happiness that is unconditional. That will bring you unconditional love, first of all, between you and the Creator, and the second, between you and others. But if not, there are horrible curses over here. So how can you explain all of these curses? How could God do that? It doesn't say that God will do that. It says, although in some places it says, but how could that be? So a lot of people read these verses and they get kind of, if that's what God says about us, I don't know if I want to be part of it. So how do we deal with that? This question is thousands of years old. And the Zohar Chadash, it's another section of the Zohar that was revealed after the first manuscript has been revealed, relates to it, and it gives us amazing, beautiful story. And the story is about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that the famous story that he ran away from the Romans and he hid in a cave in Pekin, the Upper Galilee, for 13 years. Do you understand 13 years to be stuck in a cave? He ate carob because it was a miracle, a carob tree. Did you eat carob? It's hard. And it's not always so easy to digest. He ate carobs for 13 years. No friends, no family, only his son. His wife, he couldn't see her. He was afraid. And he was very appreciative because he was there, disconnected from anything. You know what happened? It says that Elijah the prophet would come and Moses would come and teach him. We're talking about the 2nd century. And teach them all the secrets of Mount Sinai, Revelation, which are the main secrets of the Zohar, which the Zohar is the inner secrets of the Torah. And one day it says, the friends of Rabbi Shimon, all of them were like really great sages with amazing sense of connection to the Creator and to the understanding of all of what we're talking about, beyond we can even understand. However, when they read those curses, they said, how can we explain those curses? Because those curses do not have any promises. You know what? Don't worry, it's going to be over and there will be a redemption. It doesn't say so. How do we understand? And especially, they lived in a time that is about 70 years after the destruction of the Second Temple. There was already the destruction of the Second Temple. There was also the horrible destruction of the Bar Kokhba rebellion. Like in the both destructions, maybe between 1 million to 2 million Jews were massacred by the Romans, and hundreds of thousands were sold as slaves, and it didn't look it's getting better, it was just getting worse day by day, and they knew we're heading 2,000 years of exile. How would we survive? And they look at these curses and they were happening in front of their eyes. Okay. And they were like, how do we overcome the fear that these curses arouse in us? Here they come. And one of them, Rabbi Yehuda, was so frustrated, he said, only Rabbi Shimon can give us the answer. So what does he do? He writes a letter, gives it to a dove, and he's sending the dove to Rabbi Shimon. The dove goes to Rabbi Shimon in his cave, and he reads the letter, and he cries. And he says, my friends today cannot deal with those curses in Parashat Ki-Tavo. How would the later generations that are not going to be so great in Torah and spirituality, how would they be able to stand in front of all the atrocities and all the disasters and the Holocaust and persecutions and killings, and how can they do that? And he cries, I need the understanding. And as he's crying, after a long time he's crying, Elijah the prophet appears to him. And he says, God sent me over to appease you, but I cannot give you the secret. It's not the time to give you the secret. And he goes in a chariot of fire, says the Zohar. So Rabbi Shimon continues to cry, and he's crying for a long time till he falls asleep at the gate of the cave, the opening of the cave. And as that's happening, Elijah the prophet is coming back. Betoch kach ba Eliyahu zal. Amar kum Rabbi Shimon. He says, Rabbi Shimon, wake up. Ashrecha, you're so happy. You should be so happy about your share. You're so lucky. Shakadosh Baruch Hu rotzeh bikvodcha, because God appreciates you and respects you so much. So you get your answer. Or כל ההבטחות והנחמות של ישראל כתובים באלוה הכללות. All the promises, all the consolations, all the good promises for the future, they are all included in the curses. It's all about the way you read them. Do you understand what does it mean? It means that you look at the curse, and if you just change a little bit in your consciousness and you really change to a place that God can give me only grace, love, and good, suddenly you see how the curse becomes an opportunity, becomes a blessing in disguise. So it's all about this month preparing ourselves to turn all the curses of the past years and this year into blessings and great opportunities. And I'll give you an example. And he's giving an example that says, this is in chapter 28, verse 61. Gam kol choli, usually I checked it, in most translations into English, it says as follows, Gam kol choli v'chol maka, asher lo katuv b'sefer HaTorah azot, and also all diseases and plagues that are not written in this Torah, God will bring it upon you till you're going to be exterminated. What can be worse than that? And you know what? Today even, when Israelis experience something that are so beyond logic, they use this verse. They said this is a plague that is not written in the Torah. It's even beyond. It's beyond. It's so terrible. Okay? So Elijah says, but if you read it carefully, the way it's written, grammatically, it does not say Ya'aleh, which means we'll bring it upon you. It says Ya'alem, which means we'll conceal, which means you will never be exterminated, will never come to an end, you will live forever, you will survive forever, even though there will be a nation that will come and try to extinguish and exterminate the Jewish people from the face of the earth. That can never happen. That's a promise, that's not a curse. So what is Elijah the prophet saying? If you read the curses from the place of appreciation and love, and from the place of a commitment that I know that it's only for the good, you will find the good. This is the biggest war we're making against the dark side. We cannot allow ourselves to listen to the dark side and bring us to a place that we are in grievances and complain about we were born to the wrong place, in the wrong body, in the wrong... No. This is not. Everything that happens is right. It's not a curse, it's a blessing. It's only my job to change my state of mind and to look at it from a place of happy, appreciative place, and then I'll be able to turn all what looks like curses into blessings. And he adds up, and the worst of them all, in the end, and it says it in verse 28, and God will bring you back to Egypt with ships. On the road I told you will never see it again. Just a second, the Israelites did not leave Egypt in ships. They left on foot through the desert and then crossing the Red Sea. Women in ships. And Elijah says, in the end of days, when the Jews are going to come back to Israel, there will be miracles that the whole world will hear about them. And like in the Exodus, the whole world will see the miracles. And look, Israel was established by refugees from Europe after the Holocaust they were robbed from everything. All of these trillions of dollars worth of property the Jews accumulated in Europe for 2,000 years, they were taken. They came to Israel penniless. The same thing with the Jews of the Arab countries. They were taken, they were robbed from all their lands, properties, houses. They were there for 26 centuries in Iraq, in Syria, in Yemen, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Libya, in Algeria, in Morocco. All of these places, they came penniless. And look about the wonder they created from nothing. The whole world is hearing about it again and again. 48, 67, 73, again and again, creating an oasis in the desert. In the Middle East, the Middle East is like looking up to how can we become like them? And the whole world. That's the prophecy Elijah is saying. That will happen at the end of the days. But that will be also, what's the word ships? We said there were no ships. Oh, Elijah says it also can be, if you look at it, it's with false accusations. How? The whole world is like, you look at the UN. 7 times every year, the United Nations Council for Human Rights has to condemn Israel for all kinds of stuff that Israel is not doing. That's exactly the fulfillment of this prophecy. Exactly. Whoever comes to Israel sees that all of these accusations are false, but the prophecy is being fulfilled. And it says, and you will think that, how can you stand alone against the whole world? And you will say, like, okay, we are lost. We're so few. No one will be able to control you. Not in 48, not in 67, not in 73, and not even after. Never. That's a prophecy. So, how do you see the promise of the amazing prophecy happening? You have to believe in the good and fight all of those moments of grievances and complaint. And we'll see an amazing year coming. So, have a great week and a great year. Thank you so much.